You gotta do is try. If your limit is the sky, get the To get discipline, all you gotta do is try. If your limit is the sky, get the iron butterfly. These days, gotta equip your body and your mind. If your limit is the sky, get the iron butterfly. NY face to face on Zoom, he worldwide. If your limit is the sky, get the iron butterfly. Soon years is a master, one of the best of all time. If your limit is the sky, get the iron butterfly. First off, peace to Sensei Sunez. Truly elected, he could even be new press. Student of BNG. Metamorphosis. To find your style must embrace many. We sure of this. The world is filled with bullies. You can see the grief brung. Calls for Shaolin Kung Fu mixed with Wing Chun. With 20 plus years, you can't lose. Or beat the brother tools. Show you how to adapt to other schools. To get discipline, all you gotta do is try. If your limit is the sky, get the iron butterfly. These days, gotta equip your body and your mind. If your limit is the sky, get the iron butterfly. NY face to face on Zoom, he worldwide. If your limit is the sky, get the iron butterfly. Soon years is a master, one of the best of all time. If your limit is the sky, get the iron butterfly.
Peace to my niggas, spics, bitches, and the neighbors. Welcome to this pillar of poverty. A hard to live standard of righteous teachings. Loss of physical value with every pillar. Principles in stock and words of bonds. A quarter century of articulated rage and refined revolution through a fucking world that kept the pen bloody by maneuvers. Dodging the corners of being marginalized and paragraphed into the letter of the law. The orders turn sanity veiled as civility. So poor, I can only work with words that are priceless. So culture, that old oppression, that always marred, can only awfully surround, woefully emulate, and knowledge starve. On my turned pages, stacked in stanza, oppression in prose, never use a spook to bring them. Scripts of verbatim music, one font stance, home door alignment, hold my single space. Now then, plot and plan, maneuvers crack and arrow. No virus can keep us from what we sick of. Keep on building everywhere. Kobe. Retro right at the seat of every child's melon soul. So lying someone never said I grabbed with the teaching. So out unscarred, couple my way with ways. I lay a heavenly phrase on hellish days of 400 years for COVID-19 is. Rising pristine, stoic, or black.
Peace. Throw a couple of cuts. I'm gonna be on here till about. I'm gonna be on here about 2 hours, about 8 o'clock. Today I'm at home again. I'm taking care of my pops. Today is just me. I got nobody helping. It's just being pop. So I don't have that much time to add on. You know what I mean? And and he still hate hip hop. So I only could play 2 songs now. I still was gonna get the 2 songs in, but you don't. Yeah, you know what I mean. But he might need me later, so I'll give you everybody out there 2 hours though. So I'll probably be here at home the next week, next Thursday as well, and also this Thursday, obviously, and next Thursday, hopefully. Willingly, I'll get back to the school after that. Things get a little regular for everybody. You know what I mean? Been a hectic week. You know what I mean? Lot of good, lot of tough stuff, but overall good. As in much better. You know what I'm saying? As in much better. You know? But DC Round, peace. Jarrell, peace. I got your email. It was long. I didn't get to read all of it, but that's peace. I'm glad that everything I'm gonna answer that email because those are good questions. There was so much I went over. People don't always know what to do, with it. And with the fighting styles and stuff, and really how to actually incorporate it, what to do with it. You know what I mean? So I'll email you back soon enough. Be able to get that out this weekend. All right. Wise UVC Realm. Ah, God, Kasim, peace, God. Yeah, God, I should be able to get back to the school. So this month is done. Willing to get back to the school by September 8th. Now that I look at the calendar. Hey, Rome. Yeah, hope I answered all that. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Educate Yourself. Peace and blessing, you said. All right. Likewise. Interesting name. Interesting name. But we all have to be autodidactic, you know, in these realities these days, you know what I mean? Mr. Supreme says, peace, God. All right, peace, Mr. Supreme. All right, so I'm here. I'm here not for the usual 3 hours. I'll be here till 8 o'clock. So it's just short of 2 hours. So I want to get what people's questions are and everything like that. You know what I mean? Just mentioned Jarrell. He sent me a question, but that was we're something different. We're building regarding the martial arts. You got some other good questions here, but I'll answer them. I'll answer them via the email. You know, I see one question here though, whether when people like people like the FBA when they get into the separation, like Swiss class, you know, my man, my big bro, Marcano, Prince Power Rule of the Leftovers, the crew that I'm in, the collective, anti-gentrification collective that we're part of. You know, he was saying that he thought it was really great that this idea of people speaking out about Latinos and our place in hip hop, and it was pretty peace because Crazy Legs just posted something where he gave some new information that a lot of people didn't know. You know what I mean? What's interesting is that I didn't know Tape Master was a person. I thought it was always like a slang of like a mythical person. I don't know. I was a kid then. I was hearing that. So, and way, way, way past the prime of that and all that. So, but that term Tape Master is the first one to have those real tapes circulating, and he was Puerto Rican, among other information that he added on, which was very interesting. But he and the old clip of Busta Rhymes mentioning origins and who was there. Something else. I think Breakbeat Lou, DJ, who happens to be Puerto Rican. He threw some information that was new. And what was interesting is that he shared a clip of the Grandmaster Caz interview that was on the Grandmaster Caz interview, not on DJ Vlad, but on Drink Champs. And there he says that Puerto Ricans, Latinos, and the other, he says alternatives. We have so many issues. You know what I'm saying? Like we have so many issues with each other. But like, meant the West Indians, Black Caribbeans, you know what I mean? That they were there as well. You know what I mean? I think that what happens is that, and I keep saying this, and I when you do interviews, people get mad when people do interviews and they say the same thing repeatedly, but at least they stick to their story about what they are and everything like that. And that's what happens when you do interviews. You might say a different thing. I don't think people understand how difficult it is to represent your thoughts and ideas repeatedly. And that's why I'm saying this is not a blast on Grandmaster Caz. Well, we think that they're so able to get their thoughts across on the mic, or I'm not going to say, let's keep it real though. There aren't many deep thoughts in Grandmaster Caz lyrics. That's not what he was known for. So it wasn't like it was a forum for deep thoughts, but able to use that form smoothly and able to speak in front of people. This is different than being able to articulate yourself. You know what I mean? And that's why, as a journalist all these years, part of the goal of the journalist that is based on appreciation. Okay, that would include a music journalist like myself. We try not to just propagandize artists. That's not what we're doing. But we also want to be able to be sincere to the person that doesn't use this form, isn't used to that form, a deeper form, and be able to get their thoughts out and not have it manipulated by their immediate emotions, you know? And that's why a lot of interviews and with bigger stars, a lot of people don't know that they do pre-interviews. They're pre-interview, you know? So interview might be on Wednesday night. They do a pre-interview, you know, maybe 2 or 3 hours before, you know? At the very least, share the questions that are going to be asked and a little bit of the time limit of what is expected. You know what I mean? I don't really have to do that when I have these long interviews because, and this is no boast. The proof is out there. I've done hundreds of interviews. I know how to carry an artist to say what he really means about the music and help them get their ideas out without fraudulently, saying anything fraudulent that isn't really true, while also being able to take the challenges, you know. So that's important. But a lot of people aren't used to, and that's what happened with that Grandmaster Caz thing. You know what I mean? I wanted to show you, and now since we were talking about that, the Grandmaster Caz, that this is his autobiography, you know, co-written by Ivan Sanchez, where he talks about being the first so-called Latino DJ, because he was Puerto Rican Cuban. That's why people get confused, because they say the first Puerto Rican DJ was Charlie Chase, but Disco Wiz was before, but he was mixed Puerto Rican Cuban. So that technicality allows people to say that about Charlie Chase. But anyway, I digress. The point was, though, I get to toot my horn, though, because I know that I started this official idea of documenting it and throwing it out there as really a 3-hour class last week about that concept. Of course, dealing with this knowledge and how it deals with it. But that's important. You know, I saw Jarrell one thing that stuck in my head in the email you sent was this idea of Yakub's science of separation. And he sees that FBA is doing that stuff. Could this be a form of grafting? I don't think that. I really do think, you know what I mean? I really do think that this society is based on grafting. It's based on what keeps grafting going, the separation. You know, that we'll be more powerful if we become a select category amongst the other categories. So I don't think that FBA is, I'm not going to fault all the people there. I am going to say that most of the people, word is bond, as a follow-up, most of the people that initiated this and got me to do this class last week, where I really found a lot of error and flaw, aside from Tariq Nasheed, all of the people that were answering me, on the contrary, had no research, had no information, and had to admit, if they did admit, that they were never there or near there or around anyone that was there. And then a lot of them were bots, where I'd go back and the actual account was gone. So that's interesting too. But it is definitely the science of separation, you know. And I think this. If you're a scholar, you wanna repaint the scenery first of what actually was there, and then actually who was at the particular places, and then see the type of impact that we see. And that's what I said. Like, when we talk about on the ground, when it's the size of an amoeba, it isn't known by any kind of way. It's just a party, and Herc is sloppily just putting breaks out there. I really do think that the leaders were the people that were most comfortable going to that dance at that time. Like, who is this guy? Like, it's not like he was a well-known name. You know, his sister was the one that was pumping him out. So it was a lot of, then we would have to say it would be a lot of other Black Caribbeans, Jamaicans, and then possibly, obviously, the Black Americans going. And especially that's because of the type of music that he was going to be playing. But what also people forget, though, that in those areas of the Bronx, the highest population was Puerto Rican. So it was very hard to get that to stop. And not the fusing, that's not a good word. The intermixture that holds all of these contradictions, that was already in place too. And that's why I told people to research the Ghetto Brothers, the good documentary Rubble Kings, if you can find it. That's a good one. It really goes into detail. Ghetto Brothers have books. They have a book out. I know they have like a small graphic novel. Is that all they have? I'm not sure. But I know they had like a small, very easy to read children's-sized graphic novel. But they have stuff that was out there. They also made a record, though. But they weren't great, though. They weren't great. They were like a Latin funk band. They're literally. But their activism was the key. But anyway, all of that was covered last week. And it's nice to see that once we started to spread the right knowledge, people came to confirm and also add on new things. And that's, to me, what scholarship is all about. One of the concerns, though, that I saw in the comments, though, is that certain Black Americans, while they may not align with the 5%, while they may respect the 5%, understand it, they have certain barriers about people trying to steal our things and stuff, and people trying to steal our things. You know what I mean? I think this, the approach that people take, if people were trying to steal hip hop's origins or creations and the music, from my vantage point, though, I kind of laugh, though, because a lot of these people are around that say this kind of stuff. They didn't have a problem, though, when Eminem was coming in and they were riding his coattails, you know what I mean, as a cash cow. Had no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the people, and on the contrary, a lot of the people that were saying, no, this is just African Americans that made this stuff up. You know what I mean? They were the same ones, though, that couldn't give any proofs. You know what I mean? Like I said, the magazines, it was, even as late as 2005, one major magazine I was at was deleting the lead part of an article I wrote saying that Latinos were co-creators. And obviously, we have to look at that in a deeper sense too. And that's what I forgot to say about co-creation. This thing wasn't invented immediately. This thing was developed. And then now, because it's a fusion culture, how long does it take to develop, right? And not me. Okay, I could talk about hip hop writing and journalism as a hip hop element, as a creative element, and I will tell you when this is an element. When I did it, I will tell you that. I will tell you it's became an official element when I did it, because I'm the one that put the technical pieces and the creative aspects together, right? However, when breakers get together and they say, this is what this is, it's officially an element. It is now not just a hodgepodge of excellent dancers doing things that they already did and did them repeatedly, but now it has a certain ethos, right? And we knew it had to develop because before those dancers got there wasn't a concept saying, not a concept that we only will focus on the break, that and that's true. That's not. They're focusing on all types of aspects of the melody. You know what I'm saying? Funk dancers, salsa dancers, they focused on melody. They had different routines for melodies, bridges, choruses, etc. But when is it breaking then? And the average say up rock, up or top, up rock, down, right? Top rock, down rock, freeze, and what the hell's the other one? Shit. That's why I have notes though. Why am I missing this? Let me look at my notes. Notes are always good. Power moves. Oh my goodness, I forget that. But anyway, This is when they say it finally developed. And now if you look at that and then you say 1, 2, 3, 4 things, then you have to stretch it not just from its first immediate days, but then now to this days. Like the same thing if we say, well, what develops this? What develops the child? Well, what are those 9 months to make it born? What are those 9 phases to make it born? Now, if we take that and make it into a timeline, then we have the Boricuas there. Then we have a lot more Black Caribbeans there. You know what I mean? And when we have that admittance, then we can really get there. I think it's hard in many respects because it's hard to tell a history of the 5% nation because it was passed word of mouth. But it's even easier to tell the 5% nation history than the hip hop history because in the 5% nation history, we knew that we were going to have to tell our story. That's one thing you get from all of the older gods, the firstborn. They knew that they were going to have to tell their story. They knew what they were doing was something that was epic because they knew that they were making history. And I think this is something that the father was teaching them too. And that's why he focused them so much on the lineage of who were the firstborn. There was more than 9 gods early on, but then he said, who are the firstborn? Who are these people, right? So you have to have all of the people there acknowledging that this is going to be important to know who's who, right? Just like somebody sets up a martial arts school, they don't say, oh, well, we'll be defunct soon enough. No, they have it very particular that we learned it from this sensei, these sifus, these particular styles are handed down. What are we focusing on in the beginning? And then how do we evolve as we go along and focus differently later? So now they have a lineage. They have a tendency toward fight styles and techniques where those particular, so now they have a branching, right? And then the person that comes into the school can say, this is my lineage, though, right? None of this stuff happens usually. I can't, in all my history researching, it doesn't happen that way in music, you know? It doesn't, whether it's classical or it's anything else. We have to look back at records, recordings. It becomes a little altered too, because when you look at the reality of music genres, you tend to erroneously look at the popular recordings. So like it took a long time before people realized, or people after the time that it happened, that a lot of the history was made that was judged insignificant, right? Records that didn't matter, records pressed before Sugar Hill Gang, right, for example, that didn't matter, or even a lot of, let's say, dancers, graffiti writers whose styles became known, but no one really knew. So then it became a style of writing, you know, graph writing that was known by the individual that made it better, made it popular, right? So certain things get lost, you know? I'm going to go, there's some good, Kasim, you had a good question before about the woman. I'm going to answer that after I answer, because that way we keep on topic until I, you know, because this is just really an overview recap. I agree with you. A lot of PR in Black Americans in the area. Yeah. PR was one. That was definitely the census. And I'm saying that because Raquel Z. Rivera did that research already. So that's what I'm saying. I know the research. I know the census data of that time. I don't think the influx of Jamaicans came through heavy at that time of her. I agree, and I'll take that. I would probably add Herc's own words because he felt alone. So there's a lot of assimilation. So there weren't that many, but there probably were more than he thought. And I say that's all, not significantly, but more than he thought, because when immigrant groups come here, they assimilate to the largest group here. You know, and obviously them being English speaking, they're going to incorporate with the English speaking, the dominant culture, right? Even though the Puerto Ricans have the higher population. Right? So I agree with that. You said make a list of all the MCs, breakers, DJs, and find their ethnic background. That's the thing, though. Some of that is almost going to be impossible because I know, I know breakers, dancers, and stuff that don't really do anything in the culture from the that were doing things heavy during that time, and to them, it just was a recreational thing. Like they don't do it, anymore, and they're not looking to be found, and they're not following the music or the culture. You see how hard that would be, right? Like for example, when you study Dominican bachata music, it really is a broken. They call it a broken apprigio. An apprigio is a long segment, right, of a chord, right? Um, Many of the rural singers and guitarists, they didn't know how to play very well, so they were kind of they were self-taught. So they tried to play a bolero, which is a ballad, and they played it broken. They just played the piece that they could play, and then they looped that piece to kind of make a melody out of it, and that becomes a broken apprigio. That becomes, in this particular case, the bachata, right? To this day, you can't find those particular singers, those particular guitarists and stuff. You know, it's not like you could go back in there and find them though. The ones that you find are the ones that actually took it, refined it, had not just had the daring, but had the abilities to be a little bit better, and then go out into a performance area and then influence others. You know, influence others by the demand to be repeated again. So it's not that simple. Like you'd never take a census there. You know, like you said, MCs. What about all of the MCs that failed? And then would you go by recording? That would all be very altered because they didn't want anything that wasn't in English, and they didn't. None of the early labels, none of the early Jewish. It was mainly the Jews cutting records out there. Um, they didn't want anything that wasn't, African American. So even if you weren't African American, you were going to present yourself as one, right? So it became far and few between. So where do you get this data? It's only going to be people that come out, people, excuse me, that dig through, right? And that's an arduous task. You know. But we would like it to take. What I say is that the proof is there that we added on to aspects of his co-creation, more and lesser depending on the element. That we were there also being an igniter of the cultural reality, right? I think a fusion culture needs other cultures that are dominating around it to be worthwhile, and it isn't worthwhile. It isn't worthwhile if it doesn't have other great cultures, other great musics, reaching peaks or in peaks at that time, and that would include definitely Puerto Rican salsa, definitely Jamaican roots. Those are in peaks. The icon is in peaks, right? Bob Marley, right? He's at his peak during look. You said 72 to 79. He's in the peak. Late 60s till 75. That's the peak for salsa. You know what I mean? So it's all peaks. Okay. All right, but anyway, no more need to focus on that though. As a technicality, I definitely proved my point though. I definitely proved my point, and I don't think that many people can speak on it on a level that I have because they haven't done that kind of research. Technical research to go along. And I mean by what do I mean by technical research? I mean actually doing the first-hand research to find these people, the people that are willing to talk about it, the people that were connected to those people around it, and also the documentation, matching up the documentation. You know what I mean? And the documentation of others, which a lot of it gets lost. Just like that book, Big Payback, has been around a long time, and people never noticed the research that he did to find that. So, a lot of FBAers will yell out DJ Hollywood was doing it before Herc. They go DJ Hollywood. But DJ Hollywood admitted that he saw a Puerto Rican DJ that was doing the mix. And it was that Puerto Rican DJ that was the gold standard for the mix. So it's all relative. BC Realm, you said, speaking of Bronx Karas coming over for a free concert, hip hop graffiti. When is that? Have I missed that? Is that soon? Uh, I got the IG now. Let me see if I've missed that. See his IG. See if he. I know they had everybody had the August 11 birthday celebrations, right? It's interesting because with cultures that are developed organically and don't have um, and don't set a precedent on the future of their history, there still could be arguments, right? The nation still argues October 3rd or October 10th, right? Right. So October 3rd or October 10th, 64, right? Okay, going back to a different set. What's the science regarding women them not rising above 6? Yeah, that's a misnomer. That's not true. Just nobody can really prove that. It's just issues. There's no science to that. They reach their full quality, so they they reach their supreme level. So in the mathematics, though, that would be for them reaching 7, right? God. So it's you know just a lot of bitterness. It's really, there's nothing else to say about that. Oh yeah, I didn't see this. Quizar, all right. Laban, appreciate the comments you put on the last class in the comment section. It's all about expression. I always saw it as a counterculture to pop culture. The music industry was the first platform that gave us a voice on a broad scale. I think one of the difficulties is that the beginning of it was some of the elements are counterculture. Like graffiti is definitely counterculture. The beginnings of the music are not. It develops to that. So it's the activity to make the music in the beginning is countercultural, but it could also be considered just subculture because it's just rebellious to get it out, like using the street lamp, you know what I mean, power lights, that's rebellious, but that's not necessarily. So it could be countercultural, but it could be also subcultural. It's when the lyrics get more profound that it becomes counterculture. Yeah, music industry was the first platform that gave us a voice on a broad scale. Unfortunately, right? Unfortunately, if you didn't get recorded onto if you didn't get recorded onto wax, then nobody would hear you. Though it's not like today where you could distribute yourself, create and distribute yourself. All right, let me know your builds, whatever you have. I wasn't following though. Is there any follow up from you know? Okay. Peace, Malik. All right, any builds? I want to hear some builds. Let's. I've said enough about the subject. I think the ball is passed. Other people have more to say about that. Hanging in there, Malik. That's the answer. Hanging in there. Right? Okay. Give everybody a little bit of time. I want to hear see some builds here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just looking here. So now I know I have two useful plus lessons that I have to type. I have to type up again. Okay. Let's see what else is in here. Going backwards to go forwards. Actual facts plus lesson is done. That one should be available to students. Where you from? Where you from, Mr. Educate? Where you from? Okay. One of the first things to do is after the class, email me. I'll be here until 8. And email me. Okay. Okay, you all right, you're out there. Okay. All right, so in the email, what's your experience? What led you to this? How did you find this? What are you looking to learn? Your background, all of these things. Now we could take it from there. Okay. I don't hear any. I don't see any builds here. I'd like to though. Everybody here, wise you Malik 793rd. Let me hear a build. Today's math. This is the one that you gotta know. This is one of them you gotta know. Okay, Malik, I'll wait till the other part comes. It's not finished. Appreciate that 793rd. Appreciate that. Malik, you said my discernment on speaking and articulating the truth, so that's is paramount because what is shared and how truth is the ability to change. The force we recognize as change to grow in a positive way, to eliminate falsehoods, to clear any myths to let God be seen and heard. I don't know what I think about that. You use truth as a verb, right? Is it a verb? Or is it, in this case, truth is wisdom, and then its ability to change and force is the power, right? You just have to fix the way that you wrote that, or the way that, and or the way that you would say that, right? Because truth is a thing. It's a noun. It's not a verb. But I get it though. The last part makes sense. It bonds. Okay. If you're new, political education is civilization enrichment. We're here online today. I'm usually at the school. Whether we're at the school or not, though, to be a student of mine, we have to build offline as well, outside of the classroom as well. So in this digital classroom, there'll be things I share, right? And that's fine. Okay. But for the deeper level, whatever you want to really get, right? Just to educate yourself. Crypto piece. Um, we have to build offline as well. Okay. All right, what do you got here? Wise you said peace. Today's math is wisdom, power, all being born to God. Knowing how to apply yourself by adjusting your abilities. Adjusting. I still say no, Malik. I still say it's not a noun. The reason I say it's, I wouldn't say power is a noun. The reason that is because it's the influence, but the influence of what? So in today's mathematics, so it'd be the influence of that wisdom, right? We keep saying power is the truth, though, but I don't always see it that way. I see the culture as the truth because it's your understanding that is right and exact that you're living out, right? And it has immense power, right? So it's different. I don't see it that way. Right? I say again, I'm not one of the people that say that power is the truth. It's extremely grammatically flawed, but the more I think about it, the more awkward it is because if it's knowledge is a thing, then your understanding is a specific thing based on applied knowledge, which is wisdom, right? So once you live out the culture is a thing, not the power. Okay, the culture is the thing. Right? It's our culture, who we are manifesting, right? The manifesting is the power. So that's a little different, right? The powers of, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because even if you said you had infinite power, right? Even if you said you had infinite power, it still would be based on that. It would have to be a definable segment. You know what I'm saying? So power, the actual word is a noun, right? Like somebody says the power of speech. They're defining the measure of that speech, right? How powerful, how potent, it has a measurement. Because the truth is something that is undeniable, then that particular truth has a set power. But that's not how we look at it, though. That would be like a little bit off the mark of how we look at it in the way we view what truth is, right? What power is, what truth is. When we talk about the truth that we're dealing with, right? The knowledge of self, right? It isn't really something that is quantifiable. So when we going through the alphabet, if you take going not alphabet, when we're going through the mathematical degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as a succession that keeps adding onward, then that it's different. It's not the same. You know what I mean? It is more likened to be a verb, you know, right? Because it's the culture's power, right? Right. If it was a verb, then you would say the power of culture, right? If excuse me, if you want to say like a noun, the power of culture, right? But then that means that you're also kind of saying that there's a specific measurable amount in your mind, like it has measured amounts each time. And that's why, like, it isn't incorrect to say it's a noun, but I feel like we kind of lose the point of what I'm saying with that. You know what I mean? The power itself is not the truth. It's what it actually is. It's what is the truth? It's the culture of one's understanding, right? That is what has enormous power, right? What is the actual thing that has enormous power? So in the succession of 1, 2, 3, 4, if you talk about power by itself or something separate, you could say the power of culture. And now we're talking about a noun, like the power, but it has a set power, something that is tangible, something that we expect to be measured or understood. But in the succession of degrees, though, it kind of takes away the focus, you know? I don't think kind of, I think it does, you know? And it's real abstract what I'm going into now. Very abstract. Yeah, it is abstract. It is abstract. And this is only what I'm saying here is kind of a response to the way that people see power as the truth. You know what I mean? What particular truth are we talking about? You see what I'm saying? And we all know that we're talking about one specific thing. The black man is God. The knowledge of self, that the black man is God. You know what I'm saying? And all its accordant essential things, like the white man is the devil, the birth record, the 6,000 years, all that relevant information that is rare, is specific to 120, right? And then that's it. So, right? So when we say the power is the truth, what would be that truth then? It would be this particular knowledge, but then that would be knowledge. And then in regular language speak, though, that's the thing. It could always make sense. Knowledge is power, right? Because knowledge is powerful. But we're talking about taking things through degrees, so we have to be very careful about how we separate what is what and where is what. And people that say power is the truth, though, it's mainly a Medina build. And I'm saying that it goes back to culture, because it's your culture that's the lived understanding. That's the actual tangible thing. And they say, well, no, now you're nitpicking because it's all the same. Well, it's not, because if I said power has refinement in it, I'd get a whole showdown here. So, this is why, it has to be different, I don't. Um, didn't the Zulus give November 72nd, 1972 born date to the culture? Hip hop, you mean? As recall seeing that and making notes since close to my own physical day. Um, I don't know. I remember that there were other dates proposed for different reasons and stuff. But I can't remember why those dates were proposed. And I like the Cool Herc date. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I think that out of all of them, I think that Herc may have been influenced by others though, but he did something overtly. But where he was doing his stuff was really the meeting grounds, where it started to become overt, you know? And that's why the Bronx is the key place. The Bronx is only important though, because everything starts to gel in there and starts to meld and then starts to develop into new things. So it's very important. Unlike other places that had very highly developed aspects of each of the elements, but they only had aspects highly developed. Right? This is what I'm saying, very difficult. What can I do here? We need a let's write this down. I'm gonna try to write this down, right? In fact, I'll put it in the chat. Okay. Truth I see as transcending such limitations, noun, verb, adjective, ever, so on. As individuals, we can be honest according to perspective. My honesty and have to perceive as true by another. All right. Well, right. Kizzer, right? Well, let's do something here, right? I have no idea how to say that really well, right? Um, look at this, right? The application of knowledge is power. So in the mathematics, how does that skip 3 and 4? So you just apply knowledge, and that's wisdom, and it immediately becomes power. So that means that it would be the wisdom that would be power, right? Again, a lot of the stuff makes sense though, but we're talking about mathematics, right? We're talking about mathematics. Let's give a piece of knowledge. I'm gonna, I'm gonna write number one in a piece of knowledge, right? Is that our accepted knowledge, right? We're good with that, right? That's good, right? Right? Let's say wisdom is the applied knowledge. So let's say like we apply that, right? We live it out. Right? Right now I'm gonna make it visible, okay? I don't know what crypto wisdom understand does not born power. I don't know where you're getting that from. You'd have to show me that. Unless you're borning each number, the number of each letter, which is not a build I teach. Okay, that was what Wise Jamel taught though, and you'd have to be on a much higher plane of having 120 to even play around with that. But that's I don't really bear witness to that. But wisdom understanding does not born power at all in any kind of respect. Okay, that's 3 and 9. That would born just right wisdom understanding, right? I'm sorry, I'm read this wrong. Wisdom understanding does born power, right? But we're not talking about coupling. Okay, we're not talking the coupling of the principles here. I'm talking about explaining the science of how things are born by going through the mathematics from 1 to 2 to 3. No matter what, that is a principle you're talking about. What I'm talking about is how things are created, right? Yeah, no, I totally read that wrong, cussing, right? Um, what we are deficient in is being able to build on mathematics as a science of creation from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9. And that's the problem. Okay? You cannot just say wisdom, understanding, born's power, and then all of a sudden, no, that makes sense here. Okay? Wisdom, understanding, born's power is on a specific principle of idea, and that will have to be shown and proven. Okay? Knowledge. I gave you a piece of knowledge. That's correct, right? Here's our application here. Let's follow this. All right, let's follow this. Okay, you got one. There's my piece of knowledge. That's knowledge, right? Unless somebody disagrees with each of them. This is my wisdom. This is what I'm doing. I'm applying these things to myself and everything, right? The understanding, though, is that I am. That's the understanding, though. Okay, that actually is the understanding. Okay, can we agree on that? Okay. The culture is the way of life, though, right? So now the culture, right, aka the way of life, right? What happens? Give me a moment here. I don't want to miswrite because if I press enter, then I have the wrong thing in there, and this is we went down a wonderful, wonderful rabbit hole here. Okay, hold on. Just want to keep my language consistent. Okay. Where am I looking for? Okay, right. So I have 1, 2, 3. Let's tell me if anybody has a disagreement with that. Okay. That is my revelation of purpose. I am God and I will create. Okay. Now, I like to call the culture interactive awareness, right? In other words, I'm not going to write that though. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. I deleted it, right? Where this is the outer expression, right? So, what would be that culture though, right? Creations of art, uh, uh, martial art techniques, becoming unique uh, to a style, a self style, right? Right. Okay. Now the culture is me creating works of art, whether martial art techniques becoming expressive, works of writing, this and that. I'm using me as an example. Having a self-styled uniqueness. This becomes unique. It goes to the outer world. It is unique, right? So now that it becomes unique, now that it's unique, it is me. It is my creations. That then is what it leads to the power, the influence, right? The propulsion, the propulsion, right? So it's a measure of force that can be measured in a time, but actually, but actually, um, could still be a timeless measure. In other words, for these set amount of years, you could see the impact of the power. You could see the power of this culture, my works. But over time, though, it may turn immeasurable, incredibly hard to measure. That's what I mean by that. So it it definitely isn't just something specific. So when we go that the power is the truth, it actually is skipping a lot of the concepts here, and I think that's we're skipping the part that when we look at knowledge, right? Black man's God, that by itself gets to be the power. And no, it isn't the power. It's just a basic statement. And that's what I need you all to see. That is just a basic statement, though. Okay? Take that basic statement. We all see it as a true statement. Take that statement in the year 4,200, 5,700. The year 5,700. Would it be that impressive? If it had nothing behind it, no wisdom, no understanding, no culture, would it still be the power? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I mean. You know what I mean? Right now, we're talking about something that we've been teaching heavy in the streets for 50 plus years, and that has been actualized that long. People that had it before weren't really actualizing it. That's not that long. So the knowledge seems like it's just power because it's fresh, right? This is the thing. Take a moment to think about that. You know what I mean? Take a moment to think about that. Okay. 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 All right. This whole exercise was to make Malik's head explode. Okay, that's it. Class is over. Let's wait till Malik's head explodes. So we can build mathematics the general two ways, as two of its principles linking up. But the main one, the main way that really is the prerequisite. Not prerequisite. It's the requisite. That gets old. That honestly, I'm seeing over the years, I think is overlooked. You know what I mean? The supreme mathematics built on as the nature of creation, right? Thus, the nature of creator. Okay, I said that wrong. Thus, built on as the law and order as a in a linear fashion, right? From 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to right. Now let's add on a cipher, right? As in knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, power, equality, God, build, born. And I tried to write it perfectly. I missed the comma at 8, and now let me fix that. I need it to be right and exact because I'm trying to use this chat as a blackboard. Okay. 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 We're doing the other like crypto. You just said something that was not wrong though, even though it's useless here because I need to hear like what that means. You can't just say like wisdom, power, borns God, and so that proves my statement. Where in real life would you be able to prove that? By just saying it, right? This is not a spell book. Okay, mathematics is not a spell book. You know what I mean? I keep saying that it's not a spell book. Okay, you can just say it, and then it's correct. You know what I mean? Right? Right? And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, crypto. Okay, I'm kind of saying this really rhetorically that I find students doing this. Okay. So how do you show and prove the law and order of how creation works? By going through math. Is like how does one lead to two, lead to three? When you get my build on supreme math and alphabet, they're not separate. It's how it goes into the next degree. That's very, very important. You know what I mean? Right? This is an exercise that is not done. I think that people have over the years they have a long difficulty getting past supreme mathematics with me because they don't want to take it like that. They just want to say the typical cliches, born degrees. Now you don't have to born degree, so it's even less of an exercise and thought process. And you don't really know how knowledge leads to born. Like how does it? Except for some statements that we repeat. That's not good enough. Okay, so you need that practice. Okay, you need that practice. Okay. 793, you said precious experience and insight in the form of one's ways as well as actions, right? Wisdom applied to the force, power, that source that drives who we are, demonstrating the centering of ourselves with all things. Interesting. You kind of define power as a noun, even though I said it's really not, but you said it's a source that drives who we are. So is that source power? And that's what I said. The origin of the source is really the culture, which is really the manifestation of that knowledge that we led to understanding, right? Mr. Educate Yourself, I'm glad. I got your email too. Um, I hope you have a better perspective on what I just, based on what I was saying. Or is that just a random thought? Justice, you said a lot of people get lazy, complacent, the same understanding given to them when they first started their journey and don't challenge themselves. This is often that happens because this is difficult stuff. Crypto, you said, my wisdom is the experience of my life lessons that makes me grow wise with my days, allowing me to see life with another perspective, giving me understanding. Okay, that's what wisdom is. I don't know if that's a build on today's math because I don't see today's degrees in there, but today, the degrees of today in there. But I get that build. That's how wisdom would go, right? But that's an exercise to take. You take mathematics through the whole creation process, like describe it like that. Then try to give a concrete example, which you actually, the concrete example gets hard. What's a way to make it easy? Take something that you actually created, all right? And then here's a pre-assignment. If you're like, what? I haven't done anything. I haven't really created anything. Go out and create something. Go create something. You know, people don't have that prerequisite assignment like Justice because he creates music. Take a song, take an album, and take it through the supreme mathematics to analyze it. In this case, it was successful. So you take it through the supreme math to see how it develops and how it becomes. That's how you're gonna learn, right? 73rd copy. So we would have to break down that culture as well as understanding without using those exact terms as you pointed out many times in the past. Appreciate the truth. As you go along, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The knowledge with legs. I like that. It's putting what you obtained in motion through your words, ways, and actions. Be an example of what you're about. If you're able to make a difference in the lives of others, that's power. Mm-hmm. See, understand that unless you're on the day 12 or on the day the 23rd, you're not building with 2 degrees that are in in their ideal order of creation. So when you build on the day's math, you're almost always building on linking, and I'm talking about the double digit days, linking two principles together and how those two principles can give insight. What I'm talking about is understanding supreme math though as the nature of what it ultimately is, how we create. When you understand that, then you can get into different builds on the principles and coupling the principles as separate entities, which is also possible. And that's why we build on the day's math, like the way we do. Right? Right? But you got to be able to prove it that way too. When I give out my Supreme Math Plus lesson, that's what I'm doing with the Plus lesson. Through power actions, you with through proper actions, wisdom, you versus be a great influence on others by sharing the mentality you have as a supreme being with good orderly direction. Mhm. Okay, I see it. That's right. Taking notes. Hmm. That's peace. That's peace. I'm gonna say this in my years teaching. Um, I don't think note taking is something that it has never transferred for a long time. I could count on the palm of my hand the amount of students that have taken actual notes. You know what I mean? Oh, appreciate that, Justice. Yeah, man. Marcano always goes in. You know what I mean? That played a small part in that. You know, small part in that. You know, I'm more of a kind of a behind the scenes building with them, especially Marcano. Um, Maybe kind of more of a muse to spark a lot of that. But as far as that goes, you know. But yeah, and he's really an amazing MC, you know. And we got this album has that album has a lot of features, you know. Lebron has a lot of features, you know. And for those like the Leftovers album and the Leftovers NYC album, Lebron is not named after LeBron James. It's named after Lolita Lebron, right? The famous female um, Boricua nationalist, freedom fighter, revolutionary, you know, right? The only person in history that I know of to lick shots in the U.S. Capitol. You know what I mean? Right? Talking all that January 6th, and she went in there with a couple of other brothers, and they tore it up. They went in seeking independence of PR that we still don't have today. Before we continue, though, and I said, you know, Mr. Educate, I appreciate Mike Lou, right? You sent me the email. I show myself to the people. For over 20 years, I go to the school, nobody knows who I am. Um, they get to know who I am. I stand right there. You know what I mean? Whoever comes in the classroom, you know? But and I start, you know, any student that walks into my classroom, I like to know who they are and everything like that. So if you're adding on with the math as you are crypto, let me know who you are, because crypto is not a righteous name. So crypto Ocho is not a righteous name, you know. And you're not just asking questions though. Now you're building. You're telling me that wisdom is the actions of my knowledge, and power is the vehicle I moves in. Because to be wise to have power over ignorance, which sounds peace, you know. But right now, that's the build of a mystery god. Okay, so always introduce yourself in every cipher. You know what I'm saying? Remember one time I had a student, he was all scared to write the word Allah in his notebook. He said they're watching, you know, they got files, you know, like I just walked into school and I said, listen, I've been at this school for years, multitude of years. Right? I was nearing 20 years. If they got a file on you, they got a bigger one on me. And I keep building, you know? So, you know, let me know who you are, okay? Let me know who you are. That's how you build. There's too many people not making knowledge born about who they are, you know? That's not acceptable. You know, when you in, let's talk about real life, right? Not digital, so it's not so confusing. I don't know what NGE webpage is, okay? So you have to tell me who you would be building on it with, right? The only page I know that's a web page that's official is the one that I'm editing, 5% Media. So I don't know about the other one. You'd have to tell me. There is no, you know what I mean? But it's okay to have an honorable name. Like if you don't want to give like your whole, you know, your whole name, your whole honorable name, like, you know, that's my government. I don't want to give that up. Then, you know, say your name is Steve, Johnny, you know, like whatever it is, you know, like what I'm saying is that you introduce yourself. You take yourself out of the mystery, right? We're trying, I'm teaching here, not so people become part of this though, like as a club, but that people have more tools about studying themselves and that they could learn how to take things out of mystery and apply that to real life situations that don't seem like they have anything to do with the knowledge of self, you know, but like all things, it'll be applicable to anything that is useful to us, right? Malik, yes, you're correct, that absolutely. And you could look at that as a specific power. The specific power used to get back Jerusalem would be a noun, an actual thing, right? But if the truth is the black man is God, then that means that power is immeasurable. So it's not, how is something immeasurable a noun, an infinite noun? Okay, see now we get into awkwardness. But it's really the point I'm making though is that we're kind of cheating the idea where the real crux of what we are, what we really do is in the understanding that is lived as the culture. I hate that we skip that like that. And for us to know the order, the long order of the universe, right? Can't skip. Can't skip. Explain how this works for me, crypto. What NGE page, right? And this is no knock on you. You know, you're out of Miami. There's a lot of great gods out of Miami, including my brother Infinite Mind. So you, let's say you find my brother Infinite Mind, you're learning directly from my tree. You know what I mean? Like you're learning from my brothers that I taught. So there's so many gods out there in Florida and whatnot. You know what I mean? Um, so like how is that? How does that work? Like how are you getting the student enrollment from a web page? Like who's taking you through it though? Right? So it's awkward to me. I just would like to know because that way I can help and add on here because you're seeing a digital representation of what I'm teaching here though, but I'm not a teacher that is just digital. Okay, I am someone that is sharing my class digitally. Okay, and it looks more so like it's just a digital class because this year has had me not be able to get to the school because of my father, right? And because of what we have to build and then years of COVID, like, so it's it's led to this digital classroom being very important, and for people that can't make it to the school, but understand that the complete teaching that would be with me as a teacher, as an enlightener, if I am so chosen for those particular students, it's not just in the classroom; it's outside of the classroom as well, right? Right. Right. So I'm gonna write my email again because I'm only gonna be here till like 8 o'clock. Okay. Short class because I have a lot of responsibilities that um, it's that's why in general that most of my work this year has been writing. I haven't been able to do much of my shows, my podcast as much, right? But that's why. But that's why. All right. I'm sure it's twice strong. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Mike. Okay. Uh, this isn't to bomb you, crypto. This is just to give the detail. Like when you see the 1 in 10, you have to have it verified by somebody that has a way to prove their roots, is legitimate. You have to legitimize the individual. You know what I mean? You have to know who it is that is teaching you. So you have to know what it is, um, that you're intending to learn. You have to be able to qualify things, right? This is important, right? Just because you found it doesn't mean it's right. The 1 in 10, you get lucky with that. You would get lucky with that because that wording usually doesn't get too butchered up. But there could be major things that are different, that are wrong. And plus, you need somebody to go through it with you because it's not going to be understood like that. So, um, not the move to just say that you're learning it by getting it from a site. No legitimate site of gods and earths would just throw that up. That's not how we respect teachers. You know? Right, right. But that doesn't mean that crypto knew that. So, um, again, crypto, what you can do is email me. I still don't know a name to call you by. You know what I mean? Right. So, email me so that we get this started. This short class today. I'm gonna end in a couple of minutes, but stick around for any questions about anything. It could be anything about what we talked last week, about anything you're interested in knowing. You know. Oh, excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you. Peace out, guys. And if you have a righteous name in your, if your username is a righteous name, then, or it sounds like a righteous name, then I am, I'm not going to be arguing this every 2 seconds. This etiquette. I kind of assume that that's your righteous name. Or if you have a name that seems like an honorable name, like Micah, right? Micah Mitchell, peace, right? I'm not going to argue this, but understand if you walked into the classroom, like a physical classroom, this is what I would be doing, though. What you all don't understand is like when me and Dark Kim are in the school, like we don't know who's coming in to our home. That's our home. A law school is our home, and we don't know who it is. You know what I mean? So, right? I didn't know there was a Ruckus Records documentary. I don't know, so I wouldn't know where to watch that. Justice. I would like to watch that though. It's an era that I thought a lot of the stuff on Ruckus was dope, but I thought that Ruckus by itself couldn't destroy what I was seeing as the Dark Ages. and there's many reasons for that. Primarily because they were really This is not just the labels, but um, they catered to a quality level of hip hop that was acceptable, to progressive whites. And I think that was great for what Rawkus was doing, but it's not great for everybody that's doing it. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to explain though, but what I'm saying is that Rawkus by itself couldn't defeat the dark ages and the commercialization that came with the media, primarily, definitely media, the mastery of the record labels. Because before all this digital stuff, they reached the level of mastery. You um, Thoughts on Capitol Records releasing AI rapper? Hey, they already build fake humans to rap for them, and after a while, even that gets tiring because they all keep doing stupid stuff, getting in jail like little baby, doing all crazy stuff. So might as well go with that, right? I mean, after a while, it becomes like if people think that's fire, like why not? Because they thought so many other things were dope that the people have been so diluted. There's like you play a trap beat and it has a lot of bass and a thousand hi-hats per minute. That sounds fire to people, so people's ears have been diluted, they've been digitized, so you know it's a good pitch. Well, why don't we just get rid of the entire black guy that we got to exploit? We'll just exploit his image. It's disgusting. And of course, this is actual music. It's never going to lead to real music, right? Can power also be defined infinite possibilities? Yes, because the power of that knowledge, I said, was, remember I said black man's God is the knowledge. That power is infinite. Like, let's say we take that, just think about it here. Don't think of it as me, think of it as the Father. The Father, that was the knowledge he got. That became infinite to him. You know what I mean? It's exuding endlessly. So, sure. Power does have infinite possibilities. That infinite possibility wouldn't be that it would go through mathematics continually, continue to reach born. It's not, and get to knowledge add on the cipher. It's not so much that it would be stuck at power and it'd be an endless barrage, right? We're looking at specific points when we deal with the math. So each one of them, for our intents and purposes, as we build with them, wouldn't be of an infinite level. You know what I mean? Even when we build and get to God, that's not infinite because we're talking about that particular rejuvenation of our that happened during our reaffirmation of that specific knowledge. That knowledge went to became an understanding that we drew up, became a culture that we let loose the power that brought in equality, a new position of reality, and then that realized us in a unique way, right? So even that isn't infinite; it's to the moment, you know. So those infinite possibilities would be in the continuing. You know? I would imagine, and even the precursors to Shabam and Munch, because that's the peak of Raucous Records commercially. But their label was really made by Company Flow and Black Star. You know what I mean? They got all the progressive whites with Company Flow, and they got that whole all of us back. Definitely, if we didn't really weren't doing it now, as the Company Flow had the God Big Just on it, and if that was too avant-garde, because it's very avant-garde. Company Flow was very, very avant-garde in the dopest way. So it's Black Star that was. I don't think Black Star. I think Black Star is the second most important record for that label. You know, and I would take the argument of Black Star versus Company Flow's Fun Crusher Plus. I think those are the two most important. I do not think Mancha's record is the most important. That's the peak of their commercialism. It's the most important, but it's their downfall because they really butchered up that Godzilla sample, that whole fiasco, And they did something that wasn't, I'm reading a great Duke Ellington biography. Was it Duke Ellington or was it the George Clinton biography I just finished? No, it was with George Clinton, but there was a particular song that had a sample like that, and obviously all the Parliament songs. That's why I can't remember which one. And they didn't do that. They didn't pay for it, and it became it. Instead of paying this small amount of money, they didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? It became a much bigger thing. So and if you're not like a large label, like one of the behemoths, right? Then usually what would happen is that the artist would get screwed. In this case, Rawkus, the label, and the artist got screwed. That's why, no matter what, Rawkus didn't really pay for the Godzilla sample, not because on some standard or principle. Nah, man, samples being paid for a long time. I don't think that that's the first sample that they pay for. No, they decided like let's not pay for that sample because it's going to be a big one. It's going to be expensive. Let's see if we get around it because all we'll lose is the artist. Unfortunately, they lost more than that. You know what I mean? They started to deteriorate. Justice, you said getting degrees from searching the web isn't the same as someone taking time to build with you one on one. It's not the same. A lot of inaccuracies in Nation of Islam Supreme Wisdom mixed with 120. Yeah, definitely. And that's why the email's there. So I'm glad. I'm very glad. I really wasn't going to get on today, but I'm glad that I was able to get two two brothers here to add on and stuff. And I'm gonna say this though, just to add on though, because like if we're all doing this and like I'm doing this, we gotta see like if you're older, if you're grown, there's two things you have a responsibility to do: taking this knowledge and creating with it, or taking this knowledge and bringing it to someone. It's one or the other. And when I mean be creating, being doing something really good. You know, just as you said, for example, someone having supreme wisdom thinking they have 120 will have certain things that we don't have, like skunk of the planet Earth and 110. Yeah, and then they don't have why the father took it out either, right? 793rd, their shiny suit era in comparison that Sadat coming. Oh yeah, that's a Sadat coming. Talib Jones was crazy. Still getting mine circuit. Yeah, the 1999. Yeah, 1999. Yeah, was off the imprint as well. Yeah, no, a lot of great music. Huh? Don't get me wrong, and a lot of great artists were around that they didn't even sign. Like they tried to get Eminem and they didn't get him. You know what I'm saying? Right? Piece of older justice. Um, a lot of guys they should have signed, like, and they couldn't sign. They couldn't sign Thurston High. He wasn't gonna adjust. He wasn't gonna bend. Shout out to Thurston Howe though, because we just did some work and everything recently. So that's great. And right. Hmm. Yeah, if that's out though, that Ruckus documentary, Justice, give me a link to that. You know what I mean? I'd love to watch that. Let me know where that is. I would love to watch that. Relive some of the days. You know what I mean? It's also like the real end of the powerhouse days of Fat Beats, because Fat Beats is very crucial to the power of Ruckus. That's also, excuse me, another thing I would say. Fat Beats is crucial to the power of Ruckus Records. Definitely, definitely. You know, but yes, peace. But with that said, I'm gonna let y'all go past 8 o'clock. So um, my email is there. Any questions you have, let me know, and I'll be here online next Thursday, but I should be at the school the following Thursday. All right. All right. So peace to everyone. Email me, contact me, and so we can build. And I will do my best to answer those emails I got as fast as possible. All right. Peace.